This is one way to look at it, right? But like from you say, like we are all already a little bit spoiled because we can see Amazon, we can see Netflix experiences, but we are working in pharma for bringing value into our lives as patients. So means we are working with very compliant and a risk-averse environment. Taking this point into consideration, what you will say is a hype of AI in pharma and what is overpromised for us? Is there any overpromising? Like you understand, like we are all
Yeah.
expect everything happens, but what is not about to happen, to your opinion?
Yeah, I think this is a very critical question. I think there's a kind of mismatch in the expectation we have about AI. So to me, it's not just about one single project, one single use case or initiatives. First of all, to me, is we think that AI will solve all our problems. They will do the job on behalf of us. We can just sit down, relax, right? And AI will get the job done. It's not that way, right? Still human is critical within the overall value creation with the AI. So in its input, in its guidance, so final decision making that should be taken by the human. So again, the famous sentence "human in the loop," right, is still critical, but it's not just human in the loop. Human is an active part of the output generated with AI. So of course, there are some activities and processes that can be fully automatized with AI. Don't get me wrong, but for some of the critical problems, AI and human should work together. This is my first takeaway. Then there are some other, let's say, issues or gaps that the company needs to close, needs to fill before to really leverage AI. Another one being the data quality and data ecosystem, right? Because your AI is good as your data is. So you need to make sure that you have a real connected data ecosystem capturing the right information from our customer that are high quality. Otherwise, garbage in, garbage out, right? Then that's the rule. So you want your data to be clean, to be integrated across all different sources, to be high quality. Then you can start training and inputting to your AI to get a better output. This is another gap, and this is very critical for the pharma companies, but not only, I believe, for pharma. And the other piece that I see critical is we just mentioned that about change management and governance. And we want to make sure we have the right governance in place for us to guide the AI properly. Question like, who is responsible for that AI mistake, right? Who is going to control end-to-end the value creation? So there are some questions we need to really address and understand before to get the most out of AI. And then, of course, there's always the other side of the fence, that is the change management piece. So we want AI, we want the best AI to be in place, but then we want people who can really use it. So who can adopt AI, who can make AI part of the DNA, right? In terms of not only a skill set, but also mindset shift, right? So it's very important. So to have all those combination together to really get advantage from AI or technology projects.
This is a very interesting point to have AI in the DNA. I think like recently have read this article about AI first organizations, and there's a point about hiring AI native people. There must be always people inside the organization which are thinking AI first, and then the others are following, and then it's like how organization is changing. So this AI first people, so always will show the alternative result to everything, but it doesn't give us a way to escape of accountability and responsibility, giving like we are working in pharma for pharma. So the accountability question, who owns AI, is definitely wrong, right? Because that question nobody is asking today, because we are owning AI as a person who's in the loop of nurturing this or that result is irresponsible, right? So a human is always responsible even for the structuring of the right data, choosing for the external trustworthy sources to build the knowledge base. So there is always accountability and responsibility on this very side. But I want to touch the other point in our conversation, which is related to the expectations. Still, we understand the industry is changing, the technology is changing, so that the healthcare professionals, along with patients, their expectations and demands are growing. Let us zoom out a little bit into that question. You work in markets, you teach future pharma leaders, you have seen the transition from the outside and from the inside. What are HCPs actually expecting from pharma now? And what does meeting those expectations demands from us internally? So how we meet with their expectations?
Yeah, yeah, that's what the question already. I think this is exactly our job. I mean, myself and the other colleagues that led me trying to at least drive this digital transformation across pharma. So lots of things have changed, mostly in customer behaviors, customer interest, and preferences. Right, this is mostly, at least we are measuring that mostly after the pandemic, where we're seeing some shift that give us clear signal on how to approach our next conversation or interaction with customer. First of all, we need to know that the access to our customers is reduced. So there are less opportunity for our physical representative to meet the customers on one end. On the other end, the SAPs want to spend less time with us, right? Or not want to spend less time out, but they have less time in general. Those are two things we need to take into consideration also with their shift because we are, as an example, seeing they are shifting really from wanted to know product information to value based information.
Value
So
based, right?
this leads back to not only commercial driven material, but commercial and medical driven material, right? To really provide insights and data to our customer. They want to have answer at real time. And I think you know that better than me. Most of them are already using AI like ChatGPT, Gemini, Cloud to gather product information, to gather information about treatment, about clinical support, right? We run kind of market research across Europe that showed that more than 70% of the SAPs across Europe are already using ChatGPT or similar to do exactly that. So they don't want to wait for the next reps visit or our next email to provide that information. So that's why I believe our reps or MSL or digital engagement interaction even gets more critical because we need to know where to add value to this information. So again, the other shift is we need to move from just doing some medical information activity to being valuable partner, long-term partner with our clinicians because we want to really guide them through on how to treat this specific case, which is the best treatment, and how can deliver that to this specific patient with this specific need. So I think we need to really move from, again, just sharing product information to really value-based communication. And then, of course, when it comes to us, what is demanding, right? There are several things we need to work on to put that in reality. First of all, we need our leadership commitment and alignment that this is the right way to go, right? Because for omnichannel, for digital, for AI to work, we need investments, we need resources to support this transformation. It's not just a couple of people running an entire AI or digital project. We need investments about technology, about change management, about resources, budget to dedicate to content production. So there are lots of things that should be prioritized within the business to make this working. And then, of course, this is leading to ensuring coordination between our representatives. So when MSL reps go to the customer, we need to be coordinated. We need to drive a message that is aligned, that is right, subsequent. I cannot just send out a communication without knowing the latest interaction with customers, right? So there are some things that we need to make sure we we address. And then, of course, let me say this: the one of the key critical success factor is still the contents will deliver to our customers. If we know their needs, if we understand the interests, the preferences based on the data we gather, we can then build some relevant contents and deliver that according to their preferences, their timing, and what they expect to have.
Exactly. This is a very good answer actually. One of the also expressions that caught my attention. This is where medical and commercial needs to work together, right? So, like, because this is kind of one of the blockers we always have, that commercial messaging, even they are based on this medical evidence, not always those teams have these co-creation or the strategic sessions together, that they can bring this value-driven approach, what you just described to us. So it might be one of the blockers. And talking about the blockers, as the very, I really want your like honest answer on this one. If you will name one single thing that pharma companies most consistently get wrong, then they are trying to make this digital AI transformation real, what you would name?
This 100 million question, right? Of course, there could be many. The first coming to my mind that it's, yeah, to me, the very starting point to have any kind of transformation, not only the digital one. I think it's start with the business problem. Start with your needs. Start with really understanding your markets and your customers. Because if you do that, then you can really define, identify which is the real problem that you want to solve with this specific technology. One of the biggest mistake company can do is say, okay, I just want to buy these specific tools. Let's say this marketing automation or AI tool or CRM just because it's nice, because I think it will solve all my problem. This is the not the correct way to do it, because you will have system and you will need to adjust to your business. But it should be the other way around. Then, of course, once you have all the setup, the rest setup in place, you need to ensure that the execution, and maybe this is the other piece, it's done the right way. So you want to define clear roles and responsibilities, clear governance, clear objectives, clear priorities, and then your team can just follow that. But before to get to that, you need to ensure that you have a clear vision and that your technology and tools support your vision and your strategy.
I do agree. And of course, there will be really some sustained wins after the pilots, because we have like 90% of the pilots never end up with some
Exactly.
wins, like they just pilots. So we are all doing pilots, but this is not about blame and shame all those pilots. This is the important learning out from them. However, making sure we learn, we need to have a vision which is uniting us, which is driving us forward, so
Absolutely.
that we are all going into the same direction. It's actually done so nicely said from your side, so nicely done. So
Thank
I
you.
believe every leader who is listening to us will make sure that the alignment is there before any tool or process in place. That's really
Exactly.
good.
Exactly. This game changer, to be honest, based on my experience, I know this is not easy because we always rush, we always want to get things done. So there's lots of things we deliver. But again, if we just take a pause, take a step back and say, which is my overall vision and strategic direction, then I can build the technology to support that.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I love it, because this is where AI gives us time and chance to align, because like we almost free up our time from all these routine tasks to make sure like we can align on something bigger, where we go as organization. What is our next big step, next big thing which will move the needle, not a routine? And this is like what AI does for us, right? So that's
Agree.
actually a great thing. I have the most funny section right now, which is hot
Yeah.
or not. It means I will have some contradictory questions and statements here. So, and if you totally agree that you say hot, and if you are disagree, so you say not. if you want to dig and say like a couple of words to explain your vision, please do so. But let us keep it as a huge fun and see how we will go through that. Are you ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it. Absolutely. So the first one, most pharma companies calling themselves omnichannel are actually still multi-channel.
I would say odd, right? We are still. I think most of us, most of the companies are still in the multi-channel space. They are moved and try to move to omni-channel, but again, in terms of customer perspective, we are still not there. But I'll be
Right.
very brief
Cannot
in,
agree more.
in my answer, right?
Yeah, cannot agree more. The
Yeah,
biggest barrier to omni-channel execution is not a technology. It is people and organizational structure.
I would say odd again. I think this is one of the big piece of our discussion earlier, right? This people piece, it's really critical for us to drive this transformation, even more critical than the technology one.
Absolutely, absolutely. And my next one is about healthcare professionals. Healthcare professionals no longer need pharma to inform them. They need pharma to help them to act.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah, in this case, let me say, if I just have to choose one, I would say not in this case, but the answer is in the middle because we just touch base on that. Now, our SAPs has lots of means, lots of channels they can inform themselves with. Just going to ChatGPT, typing some products information you want, and it's typing lots of information, right? So again, we need to shift from just informing our customers to being their partners, their valuable partners. So, let's say this is just in the between.
It's nicely done, nicely done.
Yeah.
And I'm moving to the AI space. AI in pharma is an enterprise transformation tool, not a marketing tool.
Yes, absolutely. This is not just for marketing. AI is for potentially for every functions within pharma company, but within any company. It's a matter to identify the overall strategy and vision we have to identify which use cases can support marketing, but not only regulatory or sales or medical, right? So this is really an enterprise-wide transformation.
Absolutely. And the next one, data. The perfect data is the enemy of useful data. And waiting for it is costing the industry years.
Let me say, yeah, and I would say ought, of course, also in this case. But again, the answer can be in the middle because more than perfect data, I would call it high quality data. We need to ensure that from the very beginning, we get into our systems high quality data. And then, of course, we need to leverage those data to deliver technology, AI, and so on. But since the very beginning, we need to ensure this is really high quality. So in some way perfect, if we interpret the word perfect in that way.
My goodness, that's so right. That's so right. And the last but not least, about field force. The field force is not an obstacle to digital transformation. They are the most unutilized signal in the system.
Yeah, let me say ought, and this is really also matching with my experience. When it comes to digital and omnichannel, we always tend to say, okay, this is now going to substitute any field or any human interaction. This is not the case. Those are tools that can make their work augmented, more relevant, right, more personalized. The right way would be to find the perfect match between digital and human, not only on how we prepare things, but now also on how we deliver communication engagement to our customers.
Matteo, nice. It's so nice. It was the conversation I was hoping for, actually. It was honest, transparent, and thank you for that. we have been able to touch such an important questions as the gaps between medical and commercial, as how we need to work together as leadership to have the unified vision which is uniting us together, how we need to bring value to the healthcare professionals so they can bring value to their patients, how this communication must be driven to that, and the omnichannel AI are just tools which are helping us. It's so nice. It's so nice to be here together. And I'm genuinely grateful to you, to all your expertise and opinions shared here. I'm welcoming all of our listeners to follow us and to address the questions to Matteo Colonna, our guest today, and to Visevan, who is providing this podcast to all of you, our listeners, our followers, and dear Pharma Network. Let us think together how to get the most from this crazy AI era of transformation, and what are the secrets are still unveiled and waiting for us.
Thank you, Natalia. Thank you all, you and your team, for this opportunity. It was a really nice chat, interesting one. Also, thanks for the listeners for your time. Of course, feel free to reach out. I'm very happy to keep having this confirmation over the next weeks.
Till the next time, see you again at Pharma Talks very soon.